Hi, I'm Melissa McMahon with Care Paravel Academy. Today I want to speak to you a little bit about how we do Plutarch. Plutarch was new to me before Ambleside. I had kind of heard of it, I guess, culturally, like as part of the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and I had heard that it was something that our founding fathers read a lot of, so I knew that it was something part of a classical education, but I had never had any interest in reading it for myself, and I was a little bit skeptical about kids starting to read it in year 4 of Ambleside, which is like 10 years old, which seemed really young to me. And I didn't really see the fruit of it until they started doing current events in year 7, and then all of a sudden all these connections started being made. So I am a big proponent of doing Plutarch. Again, it's something you can choose not to do in your year, but by and large, the Ambleside ladies have not steered me wrong. So they put it in the curriculum starting in year 4, and I think that's actually a pretty good place to start for most students, but you do have freedom in doing that. So the main reasoning again for doing Plutarch that I have seen in the fruit of my own children's lives is being able to make those connections with current events, because on the outset you kind of think it's a history reading, and it is in a sense. They are biographies, but far more valuable than that is that they are studies in leadership, good and bad, and looking at politics, pretty and ugly, usually ugly, and being able to see all of these different machinations. So I think it's very, very valuable for that. So that's why I've kept it in the curriculum, and that's why I say go ahead and start in year 4 if you can. So that's the why. The how, very simple. Use Ann White's guides. Okay, Ann is a very generous member of the AmblesideOnline advisory. She's one of the founders of Ambleside, and she has very generously put together these guides that are free on the Ambleside site. So you can just go there and use what she has for free, or you can purchase these copies. There are links for them. I like to have things in hand. I don't like to read on screens as much, so I just went ahead and purchased them, and I'm glad I did. Ambleside has it listed out 3 for each year. So, and the idea is like the artist and composer that we're all doing the same lives at the same time. And that's great because you can share resources and you're doing the same thing with people all over the world. I like doing my own thing, so we just start with Publicola. That's the good one to start with because it's just a little bit simpler. It's kind of the entryway into Plutarch. So we started with Publicola, which is her primer volume. And then we just started on volume 1, and we've just done the next thing. Now, Ambleside also has it 3 a year, 1 each term. I don't know that we've ever made it through 3 in a year. Usually 2, and that's okay. I'm resigned to that, and some is better than none. So I would just encourage you, do what you can. If you don't get through the 3 lives, that is fine. Do what you can and keep going and keep doing the next thing. The way this book is set up is in 12 lessons, so it's nicely spaced throughout the term. She has the text in here already, so you don't have to purchase another book. And then she's got vocabulary and discussion questions and like some cultural background. She also lightly edits it sometimes. I remember one we cracked up over, she just had edited because there were some really bad jokes. So I kind of want to see what those jokes are, but I'm glad she edited it too, because it can get a little bit long. I like to read these aloud for 2 reasons. One, we can do it all as a family, and it's new to me. Secondly, I think we understand it better if it's read with some inflection. So if it is one that you can read ahead of time and then be better prepared to read it aloud to your students, this is one that is helpful in that way. But again, don't expect there to be picture-perfect narrations for this, because even my students, as much as they've gotten out of it with current events now, they wouldn't remember the particulars of this was this person who did this. They're going to remember the situations more, and that's what I want them to remember, so they can apply it back to their jobs as citizens and future voters, and maybe future statesmen and stateswomen. Now, as far as what to do after you read it, well, then it gets narrated. And if you're narrating it in a group of several students, of your kids, or maybe you've invited some others in to participate with you in a co-op kind of setting, what I like to do with group narrations is I read it, I tell everybody to think of their own narrations, and then I randomly call on somebody to narrate, and then ask if anybody else wants to add something to that. So this works for siblings, this works for groups. It's just a good way if several students are narrating the same thing, it's good to let them all think of it, because that's actually the work of narration, is thinking of the narration, and then just one person will say it. But make sure that they all know that they're going to be having to narrate it to themselves, and that one of them is randomly going to be called to narrate it to the group. So that is how we do Plutarch. Enjoy!